So hello there, Pokemon Masters, Birdkeepertoby here, and I am excited for Pokemon Sun and Moon. It's very nearly out, if not already out by the time you're watching this video, and I am excited. Not only to play with the brand new Pokemon, but also to play with the new Alolan forms of all the Pokemon that have adapted to the Alolan environment. My favourite is Vulpix. It's so adorable. What's yours? But there is one Alolan Pokemon in particular that is causing quite a stir with its long neck. I'm talking, of course, about Alolan Exeggutor. Alolan Exeggutor, thank you. This fella is pretty much the head, mind the pun, of the whole marketing campaign for the Alola forms. Drastically different transformations of classic Pokemon, as I say, adapted especially to the Alolan environment. Of course, that's the case for most of them, although there is a lot of evidence that I'm going to be talking about in this video that suggests that Alolan Exeggutor is actually the original, and that the other Exeggutor that we all know and love, that this Pokemon has adapted to the Kanto environment. Could that be true? There is going to be a lot to talk about, so I've invited a Poketuber, a new friend of mine, Leon Hart, to join me with this Pokemon theory.
Hey Toby, thanks so much for having me, and I'm also very interested in the Alola forms, my favorite being Raichu. In short, the Alola forms are just a fun take on classic Pokemon, which is kinda like my channel in general. If you're a fan of the Pokemon trading card game, then you'll love the Pokemon card openings I do over on my channel, along with some hilarious Pokemon comedy sketches. My channel is a community where we can all have fun talking about Pokemon. So of course, you are all welcome to head on over and join us after we're done with this theory, and boy oh boy is there a lot to talk about. First off, what do we know so far?
Well, when Alolan Exeggutor was revealed, it came with some information on the main Pokemon website. The environment of the Alola region, where strong sunlight pours down all year round, brought about this change in Exeggutor's form, and the people of Alola boast that the Alolan Exeggutor is the true form of Exeggutor. So depending on how you interpret it, you've got two separate lines there, one saying that the Kanto form is the original and one saying that the Alolan form is the original. However, Exeggutor's Ruby and Sapphire Dex entry kind of settles the score. It claims that Exeggutor originally came from the tropics and that its heads grow with sunlight. So there you go, that kind of settles it. The common information here is that one, of course, Exeggutor grows with sunlight because it is, of course, a plant, but the other is that it's not actually originally native to Kanto. Because Kanto, not particularly tropical in general. So, Alolan Exeggutor came before Classic Exeggutor within at least the chronology of Pokemon.
Not only this, but on the Japanese box for the Jungle set of Pokemon cards, Exeggutor is depicted just like the Alolan Exeggutor, meaning this was always the plan. However, there are some problems. In most of his card depictions, he is shown to be on the beaches as well as appearing in the Orange Island series, but in those, he is only ever in his Kanto form. If the Alolan form is the original, then how come Exeggutor can only appear this way in Alola? What gives?
Well, the short answer is the climate. Those of you familiar with my video on the locations of all the regions in the Pokemon world will know that Sinnoh is almost definitely to the north of the Pokemon globe, with Kanto and Johto being a little bit below it. This is supported by a ton of evidence, such as the sound of Sinnoh being known as the Sound of the North, there being a giant magnetic pole in the north of Sinnoh, that being in Mount Cornet, and of course the Sinjo ruins connecting Sinnoh and Johto, and we already know that Kanto and Johto are connected. So Johto and Kanto being south of Sinnoh, which is pretty far up north on the Pokemon globe, is pretty much certain. I'm not going to spoil the rest of the video, I recommend you check it out after this one, but I won't spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it. In the video I also speculate about how the Sevi Islands are probably south of Johto or Kanto. This is because of, again, the more tropical climate, and the further south you go, the closer to the equator of the Pokemon globe you get, and also because of just generally the more tropical nature of the Sevi Islands, which is in line with, say, the Whirl Islands and Cinnabar Island. Now, when it comes to Alola, because the games aren't out yet as of the time of the release of this video, it's hard to say quite where it is, but I'd hazard a guess, given the amount of Kanto Alolan forms in the games and how similar to the Sevi Islands Alola are, that this region is probably south of Kanto. And again, we've talked in the past about how Alola is basically the in-game equivalent of the Orange Islands, which is definitely south of Kanto, so again, I think it's safe to assume that these islands are probably right on the equator of the Pokemon globe. But more on that in a future video.
With all this in mind, it's worth looking at the various places you can capture Exeggcute in the wild, because you actually can't capture a wild Exeggutor. These are Azure Bay and Route 12 of Kalos, both of which are beached areas, Route 18 of Unova, again on a beached area, nowhere at all in Hoenn but all over Johto, the southernmost of the Sevi Islands, the Safari Zone of Kanto, and finally the Great Marsh of Sinnoh. Now, the Unova, Sevi Island, and Kalos locations all make sense as these beached areas are likely the areas being shown off in the Pokemon cards. The Sinnoh location makes sense too, with the only place you can catch it being in a nature reserve. Johto is admittedly a little confusing, but perhaps something about the climate there allows Exeggutor to thrive more in the wild. Final, Kanto is our main area of interest. Exeggutor can only be found in the Safari Zone. Again, this is another nature reserve. But why? Well, the theory is that Exeggutor were imported from Alola to Kanto, but unlike the Pokemon who were imported the other way around, the Exeggutor failed to thrive and actually got weaker.
Grimer and Muk are Kanto native Pokemon that were imported to Alola to deal with the growing pollution problem. Young Goose was imported to Alola to deal with the Rattata problem, and as a result, the Rattata's forms changed as well. You see the pattern here of Pokemon getting imported to Alola and then their forms changing? Well, why couldn't it work the other way around? The only problem is that there's a bit of a backstory behind Muk, Grimer, and Rattata. Those things have a reasoning for being imported, so why would that make any sense with Exeggutor? Why would Exeggutor be imported from Alola to Kanto? Well, it could simply be because in terms of the eyes of the people living in Kanto, Exeggutor is kind of a marvel. First off, just looking at the Safari Zone, it's home to some of the rarest Pokemon in all of Kanto. Scyther, Chansey, Kangaskhan, Dratini. Speaking of Dratini, Dratini is the only dragon-type Pokemon line in the whole of Kanto. It would make sense that they want to bring in another marvel like this Exeggutor into the region. Come, see the ginormous dragon Pokemon in our Safari Park! However, it seems sadly by being kept in the captivity of the Safari Zone and not in the correct amount of sunlight, it actually devolved and lost its dragon typing.
It's not unusual for certain animals in captivity to not thrive as well. For example, lots of animals like elephants can often have their lifespans cut in half by being in captivity as opposed to the wild. At least they get to keep their trunks. Get it? Trunk? Like a tree trunk? Never mind. What's worse is when animals that have spent their life in entertainment are released, they don't often do too well when put back in the wild. This sadly would explain the lack of Exeggutor from anywhere else in Kanto. This isn't to say that all conservation programs are bad. Many of them are fantastic and bring animals back from near extinction like bison or the peregrine falcon. Depending on how rare Exeggutor is in Alola, it could be the case that Exeggutor were moved to places like the Safari Zone and the Great Marsh to try and save the species before being reintroduced to the correct environments everywhere else in the Pokemon world. This could be their attempt to try and bring back this magnificent wonder. Who knows?
The point is that it seems likely that this is the story of Exeggutor. And there is something else that conservation programs like the safari parks often do to try and save species like Exeggutor. They run awareness campaigns and try and gain funds so that they can help preserve the Exeggutor, and that's kind of your job now. And of course, yes, this is the surprise announcement of my first ever t-shirt design that I am absolutely happy with, and of course we are raising funds for this noble cause. Hashtag Save Exeggutor is my festivities in Alola shirt, because what else screams love your Exeggutor like wrapping it up in some Christmas lights? And also we're just going to get that festive feel by putting on some of the ice forms of the new Alola Pokemon, getting some snow in there. I absolutely love this design. It's available on regular t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, and of course hoodies. Gotta wrap up warm. It's only going to be available for a limited time until December 31st, so please make sure to get hold of yours to celebrate your love of both Alola, the new games coming out, and of course Christmas and the festive season. Hanukkah, Thanksgiving, whatever it is you celebrate it with the Alolan Pokemon, and of course Exeggutor. And of course, if you get hold of one, this is my first ever design, so please tweet me a picture of you wearing it with the hashtag Save Exeggutor. The link to where you can find one is of course at the absolute top of the description, so please get hold of one. I'm very excited about this design, I hope you love it. But more importantly, all of the proceeds from these shirts, they allow me to put it back into the channel, pay for things like the animation you saw earlier. That done by my amazing friend Amy. And of course it allows me to pay for more designs like the one you just saw. This was done by a sprite artist known as Luna Dusk on Twitter. He is absolutely fantastic at what he does, so I absolutely recommend if you need a design done or you're interested in getting some sprite work done, check him out. I put him through an absolutely ridiculous time pressure just to get this done, and he did an amazing job. So please support him and support Exeggutor, and support this channel by getting yourself one of those shirts or hoodies. I love them. Also, a massive thank you to Leonhardt for joining me for this video. As he says, his channel is just a whole place for fun and community and just having fun with the whole Pokemon thing. So if you're looking to, have a nice place to hang out during the Sun and Moon festive season, so I absolutely recommend once you're wrapped up warm in your festive Alola hoodie that you go and check out his channel. Let me know what you think about the shirt/hoodie design in the comments, and also about this theory in the comments, and soar high, Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeepertoby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.